Joining us now is Chap Petersen, Senator Fairfax, Democrat. Senator, good to have you with us.
Yeah, John, it's great to be on.
All right. Now, before we get into politics or baseball, right, we got to get into all this stuff. Tell us about your new business. What is it?
Yeah, well, I'm opening a new law firm with my wife, Sharon, effective today. I've got two other attorneys joining me and two paralegals, and we spent all weekend cleaning up an old office building that we're renovating and refurbishing right in downtown Fairfax, about 2 blocks away from my old office. And it's a dream come true. Just like starting a new business, I got a whole bunch of trials coming up in the next couple months, so I'm going to be on the road, and my wife's going to be managing the business while I'm gone, and it's exciting. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that is exciting. Now, you were partners with the other firm for a very long time. How did you come to the decision to just break off on your own?
Well, I was partners with the Saravel, Scott, and Rob for 12 years, and we had some really good years, and I'm wishing them all the best. But my practice has sort of gone in a different direction. I do mostly business representation, a lot of representation in the Korean-speaking community up in Northern Virginia, but also just a lot of business cases. And I've also, in the last few years, gotten very involved in property rights, specifically eminent domain cases. And I've been trying those cases all over Virginia. And the practice was just different enough from what my partners did, a lot of criminal and domestic. And my practice was just different. And so it was just, after a while, it was just easier to manage it separately, and that's what I'm doing.
Wow. So is it for laymen? I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not really involved in how your business works, right? You got an LLC and all that going on.
Right.
So to unravel yourself from, a 12-year relationship in a pretty big firm that Scott Saravel's dad started a long time ago.
Sure.
How tough is that to get, unravel all the paperwork?
Well, I'm still in the process of doing it. And, there's all sorts of issues you got to work out, and I'm not going to try and minimize those. But, it was different enough that I had my own client base, and so that was not an issue. And I could just simply, tell my clients I was doing this, and they would go with me. So that's not an issue. But obviously, there's all sorts of financial obligations and things like that, and we're still working that out. But, at the end of the day, we had a very successful run. We made money, and just for me, I'm almost 50 years old, and it's just easier for me not to have partners other than my one partner for life, and that's my wife, Sharon. But other than that, I'm probably like yourself, John. I like to do things my way and pretty independent and be my own boss, and that's what I'm doing.
I get it. If anybody gets it, Senator Petersen, it's me on the other end of this line. I really get that. Now, okay, so your wife, Sharon, your lovely wife, Sharon, she's going to be running the back office, right? She's going to be running, basically, you're the out front guy, but she runs the back shop. She runs the business.
Yeah, I mean, the business model is, I'm, for lack of a better term, the rainmaker. I got to go out on the street and make moves and bring in clients and go to court and try cases. And I've got some really good associates to kind of help out where I can't be in multiple places at once. And Sharon's going to manage the payroll and the personnel and, write checks to all the various governmental bodies and insurance carriers and just basically manage it. And she's an attorney by trade, but, she's going to be doing mostly the administrative side, but also, as with any employer, she'll be supervising the employees.
Well, that's exactly the way my business works. My wife does all of that. As you know, you're involved with her when things come up, and I don't get involved in any of it. I never know what's going on, but it's definitely brings you closer together.
Yeah,
so that's a good thing.
You know what it's like, John, and I know people out there listening, when you go into business with your spouse, it's puts an interesting thing on the relationship. And at the end of the day, I needed some, especially when I'm in Richmond, I need someone supervising and managing the business whose goals are exactly the same as mine. And there's only one person in the world that meets that description.
What's your new firm called?
I'm still there. The firm will be Chap Petersen and Associates.
Chap Petersen and Associates. Well, this is very exciting. Now, as you know, Chap, I come up there once a quarter, and I do my show from Chap Petersen World Headquarters.
Right.
You have a conference room in there. Am I still going to be able to come up and do my show?
Not only I have 2 conference rooms. One has kind of a nautical theme, John, so you can appreciate that being from Hampton Roads. And the other one, I call it the Conference Room of Champions, and I've got a picture of Sean Taylor as you walk in, and then another picture of, and these are watercolor paintings of Santana Moss catching a touchdown against the Cowboys. So it's there's a definite Redskins theme, but either one of them will work great for your show.
All right, well, I'm going to get with your new staff and schedule that next several weeks if I can. I know you'll be in Richmond on Wednesday for the veto session, but look, exciting times. Now, I just have to ask this, your relationship with Scott Survell, is everything amicable, everything okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Scott and I were friends long before we were law partners, and it was kind of, I don't want to say by accident, but I had actually been looking to go out on my own 12 years ago when I left Bracewell, which was a big national firm. And those guys took me in and literally they asked me to be partner kind of off the cuff. And we've had a great relationship. This doesn't take away from that at all. It's just, a couple of my partners had retired. And I just, like I said, I was in a position with my own practice where it's just easier to be on my own. And so that's what I'm doing. But there's no hard feelings. And I think if people that knew our firm could probably see that this was going to come at some point, just because my practice was significantly different.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense because the whole thing about being partners in a firm and an LLC is that you're sharing a lot of the same type of work and it's interchangeable, and your business went in a different direction. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm excited for you, really. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I would think that starting a new business now, any chances of you running for statewide office in the near future, out the window.
Yeah, there's just no way. And I think I told you that before, that a year ago I was not interested, and clearly I'm not, because I'm not on the primary ballot, which I think closed a couple days ago. And so we'll see. 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, who knows? But as of right now, I'm focused on representing the 34th Senate District and making money in that order.
Is your office still in the same general area?
Yeah, my Senate
Fairfax
office will
City?
be on the first floor. So my law office is upstairs, my Senate office is on the first floor.
All right. So you'll be in the same building?
Oh, no. I'm 2 blocks away from the Survell office. But
right,
I have
2 blocks away.
I have a full office building I'm renting. Kathy's on the first floor with my Senate office, and I'm up on the second floor with the law office.
All right. Well, it sounds exciting. I can't wait to get in there and do my show. We'll get things coordinated. Let's get to politics, then baseball. Okay, let's start with politics. The Ralph Northam campaign fledgling, I think they're going to lose. Why isn't Ralph Northam running on Terry McAuliffe's jobs record?
Right now, I think, everything in politics right now is anti-establishment. And I don't think you can run on somebody else's record in this environment. I really don't. I think you've got to come out. You've got to have your own ideas. It's a very volatile electorate. I just don't think you can say, well, I'm the anointed person from McAuliffe or anybody else. Now, I may be in the minority in thinking that, but I really do think that you've got to come out and be saying new things. You've got to be shaking up the establishment a little bit. I just really think that. And so, Ralph's got basically, 2.5 months to close the deal. He's got a lot of goodwill. I do think it's a close race right now. I think the polls are relatively accurate. Ralph has the establishment support, which does not mean a hell of a lot, except for the fact that in terms of getting out votes in the June primary, that can be helpful when people know people and can use their own networks. But I still think, regardless, that I don't think Ralph has the luxury of just campaigning on Terry's record. Other than, it's good to get the support, but he's got to have his own ideas. I really believe that.
All right. I think his campaign is milquetoast right now. I don't think they know what to do with Perriello, and I think they're going to lose if they don't figure this out very quickly. That's my take. Lieutenant Governor race, you back Justin Fairfax. I predicted he was going to win easy. New Christopher Newport University poll comes out. Susan Platt at 20%. She's been in the race 7 weeks. What happened there? Or is that just, am I just overreading
I don't think 99% of Virginians still recognize Susan Platt, or Justin for that matter, if they walk down Main Street. So these are just names at this point.
Right.
Even at the top side, I mean, maybe with Ralph and Perriello, there's a little bit more name ID. I'm sure there is.
Right.
I don't think at the LG level, I don't think anybody knows who anybody is. So I think, Susan being a female is a female name. That's going to get some positive pushback. But I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that poll. And I'm not just saying that because Justin ran behind. I mean, again, you've got 70% or something undecided. And I think that's a little bit more of an insider's contest. I still think Justin's going to win fairly handily.
Well, on paper I would think so, and I said I predicted that for some time, but that poll when it came out is a shocker. But I kind of tend to agree with you. We had Ben Tribbett on last week. I asked him to explain it, the phenomenon, Susan plotted 20%, and he said, I can explain it in one word, Susan, female.
Right, yeah, of course. She's the female candidate, yeah.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
she's the one female candidate, and that's going to give her an advantage, but again, I just, it's going to give her advantage with some folks that are going to vote for the female candidate. And, they're going to identify pretty obviously in a poll like that. But I don't think that's going to get you to 51%. Now, I mean, maybe she's got other ways to get 51%. But I don't think, as I said, it's so early in that race. I still think Justin's, he's been through this before. I think he's certainly got better name ID amongst Democratic activists. And he's a hell of a campaigner. So I think he's in good shape.
I agree. All right. I think we're in agreement on that. Veto session, you're going to reconvene in Richmond on Wednesday. You have said, look, President Trump just signed an executive order to repeal the Clean Power Plan. And you've sent a letter calling on Terry McAuliffe to undo SB 1349, the Wagner Dominion 2015 compromise, Senator Frank Wagner, suspending rate review of electric utilities. I don't see a lot of enthusiasm for this anywhere on Wednesday. And it's like the governor had an opportunity to really get behind it, but it's kind of like he mouthed it, but he's not doing anything. So what happens Wednesday?
Well, I mean, at this point, nothing happens Wednesday. I've called on the guy, I obviously wrote the letter on the Dominion bill. But right. I think there's three issues where the governor, in my opinion, needs to call a special session. I mean, all these vetoes are kind of nickel and dime stuff. I mean, honestly, it's just these are not terribly important issues. I'm sorry to speak frankly, but I guess that's what we do on this show. The governor needs to call a special session. To me, there's three critical issues. The one is the Dominion issue, which I've talked about ad nauseum for 6 months now. Number two is nonpartisan redistricting, where we passed bills in the Senate, came over to the House, they died. The window of time to get something done is rapidly diminishing before the next census. And the governor needs to send down a bill on that. And number three is Medicaid expansion. I mean, with the ACA sort of catching a second life, and it looked like, the Medicaid expansion or the Medicaid eligibility rules may stick around for several more years. It's absolutely brain dead for us not to be taking in this federal money. And the governor, instead of just, talking about it, he needs to call a special session and send down legislation.
Yeah.
So I think there's three discrete issues, all in different subject matters, where the governor can say, look, I'm a lame duck. I'm out of here. But before I leave, I'm going to call a special session, and we're going to address these three issues. And you know what? If the Republicans don't want to pass a bill, fine. They can defeat all the legislation, and then they'll carry that into the fall elections. But I just think that's what he needs to do. The vetoes are they're not that critical.
You're right.
He needs to call a special session.
It is nickel and dime stuff. They're not going to get overridden, waste of time.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Even we had Majority Leader and Speaker in waiting Kirk Cox on last week, and he said, look, we have to go through the motions of attempting to override the vetoes, but it's going to die in the Senate, and so ostensibly nothing is going to happen. But I want to get to this MedX thing. I mean, we're going to be the 50th state. Kansas just went for it.
I know, it's incredible.
We're going to be behind
Kansas,
Mississippi.
Kentucky. I mean, you're talking about bright red states that are taking in money that we're foregoing, and it's almost like, what's the point now? Because we have a Republican president, we have a Republican Congress, and we still have ACA. It's still in effect, and you know what? Parts of it will probably always be in effect.
Parts of it are always going to be affected. All you had to do was look at the Paul Ryan bill, Ryan Care, where Medicaid, the Medicaid expansion states were protected. Let me also give you the political reality of it, okay? There are Republican senators in Medicaid expansion states who are not going to buy into any repeal and replacement of Obamacare without Medicaid expansion being protected. So it is what it is. Now, those on the other side, like I was, are telling me it's the principal thing to do. Eventually it's going to implode. We don't want to be on the hook for the money, but everybody else is. So, Virginia's going to be the only state out there standing on principle, losing billions of dollars. Everybody else is laughing at us.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
It reminds me of being, first of all, at the end of the day, the world's going to implode, okay? So everything's going to implode at some point. But the bottom line is, for the foreseeable future, this idea of Medicaid expansion, where the federal government would subsidize states who expanded Medicaid to make more people eligible and cover uninsured people, that concept has been around for, 6 years now, 7 years?
Yes.
And it's not going anywhere. And it's probably going to be around for several more years. So what the heck are we doing? What are we doing?
That's my argument. Look, Chap, I fought on the other side of it as hard as anybody because I thought expanding Obamacare as a failing system doesn't make any sense. But you look at what's going on right now. I mean, if you're going to take a common sense approach, you have to deal in reality, things as they are, not how we wish they could be. And there's no Republican bill on Obamacare to repeal and replace that is not going to include a continuation of funding the Medicaid expansion states in perpetuity. There is none. It doesn't exist. So there's no point now. It's pointless. As you said, now it's just a matter of fact of being stubborn. And, it's just a matter of fact of being stubborn. I'm going to be stubborn and stick by a position I had that maybe it was defensible at the time. It's not now. Your Nats opening home against the Marlins. I know you're excited. You got 20 seconds. What do you think of the Nats this season?
I think they're going to get 93, 94, maybe 95 wins. I like them to win the NL East. I love their starting pitching. Obviously I'm expecting Bryce to have a big year, bounce back year. I'm all in. I think they win NL East, and I think they're right in probably the final four teams for the World Series. But I am picking the Indians to win the World Series.
Oh no, it's going to be Astros and Nats. The two of us are going to be sitting right in Nationals Park during the first World Series opening game with the Astros. Chap, we're out of time. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations on your new business.
You need a lawyer in Fairfax. Give me a holler.
You got it, man. We'll be talking you up, all right?
Take care.
Keep it right here.